clicking go live before I even turn on my virtual webcam. Hi, hello, it's me. I am going to do a quick audio check to make sure you can hear me because this is a little far. It's a little far. LOL. Hi. So last night I did not come back live to do the thing that I was wanting to. Hello? Oh, goodness. Why are you not working now? Maybe it's okay. So, we recently had a full moon Aries. And when I was looking at it, because all the good folk on the social medias were like, the full moon is coming, the full moon is coming. I was like, wait. So, yeah, this isn't working. Wow, but it was just working. Justice, how fitting. Fitting because of the irony of its appearances lately. Um, when I looked at it, I noticed that Mercury, it was like the morning of, the wee hours of the morning. The moon was early Aries, not quite exactly opposing the sun in Libra. And Mercury was at 29 degrees. So, of course, I'm like, well, is Mercury going to transit into Scorpio before this full moon? And it did. So I'm like, why? Maybe it's not necessarily the question was why, but Mercury did like hightail it out of Libra before that full moon happens. Donde? Oh, here it is. I was gonna say, ¿Dónde está? Hey, Holly, how art thou? I know your birth. Well, I know you're a Libra. So, happy belated birthday or happy early birthday? I can't remember the exact date. Um, YouTube. I don't know what's going on with this. Hello? Oh, okay. All right. I guess it's working now. I guess it's working now. I guess it's working. See, I was talking and then I stopped talking because the delay isn't that bad this time. Okay. I don't know how loud it is, but I could hear me. It seemed like it may be a little quiet. Okay. I thought it might be a little later, but then I was like, oh, I don't remember. Better to say it early than miss it. So, I know. It seems like I can't go on without drinking these days. But I got this six pack and I need to finish it. So, this is technically an OSJ Oracle Juice Live. OJO. What's OSJ? Hello? The first sip is always the worst. Okay. Not as much of a fan of this. So, Mercury dipped into also yesterday, earlier today. There's going to be some wobble. There's going to be weeble and wobble. As I do this, it's weebling and wobbling. I'm sorry. Uh, I guess I could have remedied this if I had used a different setup, but I didn't. So it is what it is. Um, yeah, I had another realization. I was like, oh, interesting. Not necessarily related, but what I'm gonna do is I'm using the 8-bit fantasy tarot, the Wadanon alchemy and archetypes decks. I'm going to pull. I could pull. No, I'm gonna pull the alchemy for the full moon energy. The the archetype of Mercury, and then use the 8-bit fantasy tarot to like fill in the in between. So yeah, I've heard. Apparently, it's well more than I've heard. I've seen. Today was a cheat day for me. I guess I was 3 days strong into my no sugar, and today I had a little bit, but we're going right back to it tomorrow. The void, lead, and the void. Saturn. Interesting. Very interesting. Interesting because the energy of the void. Who's still on the table? A few cards: Virgin's Milk, Mercury, and the Despicable Face. The the Despicable Face with Virgin's Milk. This trio. It's an energy of like there's something that happens that. Uh, ooh, that sounds yummy. There's something that happen happens will happen. The energy of it is there's something that happened that defies explanation, and the logical conclusion, or if we use logic, the sequence of events would almost produce something that societal norms like would shame an individual about, right? Because if someone is a if I could speak, I only had as much as y'all saw. Okay, excuse me. If someone is a virgin, typically, right? So there's a lactating virgin. The Despicable Face is like people that don't believe that the virgin is still a virgin because she's lactating. And it is almost like a Hester Prynne Scarlet Letter type of feeling with the Despicable Face. But she's giving, like, it is what it is. Pluto and Autumn. Okay. Pluto is in Aquarius retrograde this autumn. I don't know when Pluto goes direct. I could find out, but that is beyond the scope of this. The void at the bottom of the deck. All right. Full moon Aries. I should look at. Actually, I think I will. I'm gonna look at the Sabian symbol for this full moon. I gotta find one. Find the degree. I must find the degree. Do. Ooh, not the moon being in Taurus. Okay. I'm having a lunar return. Wait. Oops, not show. Change the date to the 6th. Change the time to like 4:47. Sure. Moon was 10 degrees. Sun was 13 degrees. Ooh, 13:53. I'm pretty sure. Ooh, do I stand corrected? I stand corrected. So the sun was at the 14th degree. According to Time Nomad, The sun was at the 14th degree. So it was quick enough to make it past that 13th degree, to break free of the 13th degree, for that exact opposition to happen around at 14 degrees rather than 13 and some change. Mercury was 0 degrees of Scorpio. So I believe I still have it. I go to my Apple books, Sabian symbols, squares. What is it? I'll see. Go to the shelf library. There we go. Crosses of the Sabian Symbols by Beck Louis, Bekoui. And we're going to uh, here we go. I can just search for 14. I don't know if they start at 0. 14 to 15, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Solves it for me. 0 to 1. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So we'll go to that 14 to 15. Aries, an Indian weaving a blanket. Libra, circular paths. So, comfort from the blanket, repeating familiar patterns in Libra. Compare Aries' blanket weaving with Libra's circular paths. We can create our own fates, weave our own lives, and comfort ourselves. Aries. On the other hand, we subconsciously repeat what we know. Libra. Interesting. So, oh yeah, it definitely does. And I went to the gym today, so you know, I sweat a lot. That's what I tell myself. Oh, not the Oracle Vision. Okay. Oh wait. All right. So there we are. Oh. Okay. 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 All right. So with the Sun in Libra and the Moon in Aries, we'll get the card and then we'll proceed. All right. I want a clean flip or clean fall. One card would be perfect. Three is almost too much. Four, no. Two as a compromise, sure. Oh, okay. Well, is this literally four cards? One, two, three, four, five. No. I see the gold rose. The golden rose and the new pearl. So with Aries is weaving a blanket. Libra was the circular paths, right? And in some ways, Hyros Gamos, Alchemical Wedding, and Magnum Opus, the great work. In some ways, because the sun is in circular paths, so we are noticing cycles of who knows how many years, days, decades, centuries. There's an energy of cycles with the illumination of cycles, with the sun being in Libra. Being in Libra. There's a phrase in the Affirmators. I don't remember which one. It's deja vu, the feeling that you experienced this BS before. And with the moon being in Aries, it could be an energy of, well, there was that one reading with the spirals, with the dead end. That was the threshold. And it was like when you break the loop, then something can continue. There's an energy of almost like hidden exit ways or entryways because that's where the moon is. The danger would be in repeating cycles, right? It's almost an energy of like children who become their parents or victims who become villains, right? And so with Mercury making a beeline for Scorpio, and with Scorpio's energy being one of transformation, now the despicable face in Virgin's mode, it could be like, so it's almost an energy of like to break a cycle or to experience something new, to weave a new tale. It's almost like you got to do the one thing that you've been the most afraid to do type energy, where it's an energy that can be like when fear communicates a breakthrough. And it's not necessarily the fear that fear mongering type energy sort of spreads and circulates. It's a fear of like those, it's like personal fears. It's the energy of like, let's say someone has like a fear of public speaking, but that's the medium through which they experience whatever it is that they desire to experience. Or it's like a fear of the basement because the basement is spooky, but that's where the fuse box is. So if you want to turn the lights back on, you have to like face that fear in order to do that. Outside of communication, Mercury is also a planet of commerce, or it's also associated with commerce. And so maybe it is bargaining, but not necessarily bargaining in like a shadowy type way. Bargaining, and again, like with the metaphor or with the story of like fear and the fears that we face to achieve our greatest, to overcome our greatest challenges and achieve the things that we desire. Excuse me, it's like we have to bargain bravery or courage against something for something else. Because it's almost like otherwise, in our attempt to create something new or something different, we end up inadvertently continuing that same circular pattern that Sun in Libra was highlighting. And for funsies, I'm not going to read the 0th degree of Scorpio, but I do want to see the 29th um, of Libra. A duck pond and its brood. No, that's Aries. Sorry. 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head. Oof. It feels like a mound of knowledge on a philosopher's head is like lessons that you learn the hard way. right? You take your lumps and then you learn better. Here we go. Libra's mounds of knowledge indicate different subject areas of knowledge in the process of weighing up possibilities and their pros and cons. Politically, this symbol describes awareness of different lobby groups and their agendas. Cool. So, not taking lumps, apparently. But Mercury was like, okay, all right, all right. Ooh, oh gosh. So, one card. How many cards is this? Oh, it's three. Three was the limit. One card came out face up, two cards came out face down. And I was going to put the face down cards back, but since it's exactly three, I'll keep them. Bottom of the deck is Solutio Dissolution, the great alchemical operation of water. The card that revealed itself is Mortifactio, Mortification. Uh, Dissolution is number 65, and this is number 68. As we're talking about Mercury making a beeline getaway for almost at Pluto. Well, I guess, I mean, it was already squaring Pluto and Aquarius, but the square was made more exact by Mercury getting even closer. And within just like zodiac energy, instead of Mercury being an air trining Pluto, it went into water to square it. And again, maybe that just plays into the bartering energy. Mercury, I feel like, would also be an energy that would pride itself on its cleverness. But there are certain energies that like you can't outsmart. And I can imagine Pluto being one of those energies because of the things that Pluto represents. Right. Okay. But full moon. Yeah, yeah. Because that moon in Aries was the in the loops and spirals of Libra that the sun is illuminating. Moon in Aries was seeking a way out. And then we have Mortifactio, which could break those. But I don't know if there is an alchemy card that is an easier break than Mortifactio. Mortifactio is decay, death, decomposition. Mortifactio is the great alchemical operation of darkness. What was and it was the moon, right? Full moon. So because it's a full moon and not a new moon, there is an element of illumination. What was once composed now decomposes. What was once presentable is now despicable. The despicable face. This stage cannot be avoided. The underworld has taken us into the dark interior of its belly, and here we reside until spring. Through the natural process of decay, we descended to depths we didn't know existed. The alchemist soon finds Mortifactio is a stage of regeneration and sacred power, where the soil is fertile and rich, offering nourishment for tomorrow. This stage cannot be rushed. The darkness must have time to do its work, to dismantle and to loosen, to free us from old scripts and stories. As we learn to surrender to this great operation, the earth churns and wisdom whispers in the dark. She envelops us with grace and the promise of what's to come. So it's that like it's always darkest before the dawn type energy, right? What archetype does Mercury play in this? Because if it is multiple cards, let them be different categories of archetype. Well, girl, bottom of the deck is the warrior, which I feel like makes appearances all the time. The poet, number 7. That is giving, it is low key giving Orpheus, even though he was more of a like musician than poet. He's the closest thing to my recollection in this moment of a poet associated with the underworld, but for some reason, it's also giving Kvasir, even though I guess technically it would be more like Groggy than Kvasir. Kvasir poems. Girl, not God of War Ragnarok. I'm shook. I'm shook. The sunrise of nothingness. This is the AI overview. Kvasir was a wise being in Norse mythology, born from the spit of the Aesir and Vanir gods to seal, or Aesir? Aesir and Vanir gods to seal their peace after a great war. After traveling and spreading knowledge, he was murdered by two dwarves, who mixed his blood with honey to create the mead of poetry, which granted wisdom and poetic inspiration to those who drank it. He is considered a god of wisdom, poetry, and diplomacy, and his story is detailed in medieval texts like the Prose Edda and Heimskringla. Butchered that, I'm sure. Not Kvasir being murdered, girl. Not a wise being being murdered, but with his association with diplomacy and Mercury at the 29th degree being that whole, uh, what was it, at the 29th degree of Libra. Politically, this symbol describes awareness of different lobby groups and their agendas. Excuse me. The Sabian symbol book person, lady, writer. Maybe it's not a lady. Who wrote it? The interpretation. Poet or Mercury being the poet. Also, there's an energy of like, especially with the warrior at the bottom of the deck, sometimes it's an energy like it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because, like the mead, I guess, made from the blood of the spit of the gods. I lost it. It's like, again, it's that energy of like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so Mercury, Mercury is also a psychopath, right? Hermes assisted souls in their journey to the underworld, through the underworld. It's a very like the pen is mightier than the sword type energy. The other two alchemy cards are the Golden Rose. Again, we saw the Golden Rose with that 5 cards that I put back. And Wise Salt, speaking of Cavassier with its association with wisdom, Wise Salt and the Golden Rose. There is wisdom in that, even if it is personally a little frustrating. It's personally like incredibly frustrating, to be completely honest. It's like if someone, maybe it's not the point. As an aside, it's like if someone offends, especially intentionally, like why do you have to be nice about calling it out? Because that same level of like niceness wasn't given. You know what I mean? But because things are what they are, because things are the way they are, and maybe that came out too with like a justice type energy recently. Ultimately, at the end of and blah, blah, blah. Ultimately at the end of the day, it can be about what's the most effective. And what would be more effective is poetry. Poetry also inspires. That's the thing. With the poet and the warrior, it's like the poet can talk about something in a way that communicates the challenge of it, but that speaks more to or emboldens and enlivens one's heroic soul, one's courageous soul. So that even if, like, we know it'll be difficult, then um, even if we know it'll be difficult, then like we can still be inspired to like face the challenges. So not only the poet, just like the inspiration. It's like what in the fourth quarter team huddle, the quarterback coach gives the motivational speech to the team to like rally them together. Or it's also the ability of the poet to expand minds, especially where Aries is weaving something new. We've only experienced what we've experienced, but literature and the arts are ways for us to experience other things without having to necessarily like go through them or live through them because we get to feel through them. And so it's actually kind of really clever. It's actually kind of really clever when I was like, Mercury is the type of energy that likes to think it's clever. Sometimes it actually is. You can say most of the times it is. You could say it is, even when its cleverness doesn't necessarily work in its own favor. I still have these. Bottom of the deck is the Hermit. With Wise Salt and the Golden Rose, both of those together, it feels like it's the energy of a plan. Also, with the 3 mounds of knowledge, we have Wise Salt. White salt is number 28. So we have 68 and 28, which is a difference of 40. 40 is death. And then we have 58, which is a difference of 10, which is the Wheel of Fortune. So we got 28, 58, 68. The 8 in the ones place could be, I'll take it as the 8 being the apprenticeship, right? Especially with the energy of like weaving a new blanket, weaving a new tail. And then the 2, the 5, and the 6, it primarily presented as a 6. Well, all three are here, which is more so than harmony to me. The 6 is a certain level of harmony, but it's harmony without a complete understanding of a situation. Because at the 7, the doors are blown open. And now we see something that we didn't see before. The 5, of course, is associated to change. The 2 speaks to like duality. So the 2, the 5, and the 6 is, it's almost like there's a recognition of the duality in the 2, an effort to change it in the 5, and a result that's reached in the 6 that is, it has a sort of equilibrium to it. And the 6 of Wands is equilibrium in the Science Tarot that we saw yesterday. But again, and then the 7 is the poet. So Mercury comes in as almost like it's almost like things, because again, like the 6 is a harmony that is reached with a certain like base level understanding, or um what's the word for this, like here's the ground level, and like the ground up, but it doesn't necessarily understand the underlying principles. Again, that's where the 7 and its associations with like mysticism and spirituality and stuff like that. But because it's the poet, I don't know if that is a bit of a trade-off. There's like an almost roundaboutness of the poet that depends on reception and artistry, that it can be really easy to detach from, or to see it as like airy or ethereal or intangible, non substantial, which again can be a benefit, especially for matters that are like heavy, especially if like we feel like we finally achieved some kind of level of understanding. And like maybe we feel like we finally know how to navigate certain whatevers, polarities, realities, certain facets of life that we observe to be not necessarily immutable, uh, but true. Before the poet is like, well, actually, well, the poet would be like, imagine this, right? Not all poetry is indirect and flowery, of course, but with the energy of the poet, kind of sort of is. It is also a little bit like the rules of the game changing. Because the rules of the game are changing, then it's a personal question of, do we accommodate for the more that we are beginning to witness that there is, or do we stand in the knowing that we've developed? Do we hold fast and true to the harmony or the balance, the equilibrium that we found? The book is upside down. LOL. 28. Wise salt, wisdom, grit, and preservation. Wise salt is the sacred ingredient of preservation. In due time, and with due experience, the alchemist slowly develops these granules of wisdom that can someday be passed down to another. Salt retains, preserves, and absorbs. It brings complexity to flavors and grit to slippery roads. Such is the magic of Sal Sapiente. Someone who carries wise salt is immediately recognizable. Their words hold meaning, their stories are deep and true. They have wisdom that cannot be attained by any other means than decades of pain and pleasure. You may experience wise salt through the elders of the community. When this card appears, know that everything you are going through will be of use down the line. Alchemically, you are being brined. Preserve what you can, let go of the rest, and lean heavily on your elders. See, the whole, it was what, several videos ago now at this point, several lives ago, when I was talking about the whole like trickstery but parable type energy. And with morals of the story, especially when we're not told what we should take out or what the takeaway of something should be, when we get to arrive at our own conclusions based upon whatever, when we have that realization ourselves, it's almost comparable to experiencing the thing in reality in real life and having that like character evolving, growing, building experience. And so there's wisdom that can be communicated and bestowed and shared through poetry, much like the blood of the spit of the gods could be shared to impart like wisdom and all kinds of that cavassier and stuff. Which is interesting because the myth of that one entity that was captured, forced to give all his knowledge to a royal son, and then like at the end of the story, or at the end of the myth, the son is told, like the teacher instructs the son to like, from what I recall, it could be incorrect, to like spit in his mouth. But when he does that, all of the like knowledge and information returns to him. Well, so apparently there's associations with like wisdom and spit. Number 58, the golden rose. 5 VIII, Rosa aureum. The secret, the altar, the gem. The rose has long been used as a symbolic image for the summation of alchemy, the outer petals representing the first seven planets in operations, while the inner petals protect the revelations from unwelcome eyes. But what exactly resides at the center of the golden rose? Alchemy tells us it is a secret, and it is meant to be kept as such. The rose spirals both inward and outward simultaneously. It offers beauty to the onlooker while concealing its inner chambers. This is the complex nature of the golden rose. It challenges the alchemist to reorient their thinking, to devote their work to honoring the secret rather than attempting to become the master of it. Kneel at the altar of the unknown. Cherish the golden rose as it is a model of the self. More will be revealed. So yeah, that just feels like it plays on the whole, especially like when the moral of the story isn't told. When we listen to a poem, or we listen to the poet and we arrive at our own conclusions rather than someone being like, oh, like basically like spelling it out for us. But maybe that golden rose, and again, as much as we try sometimes to do things differently or to be different or to produce different outcomes, sometimes things repeat themselves. Sometimes we don't see the subtleties in what sort of brings things about. And so there are more like obvious things that we can see. And we can try to avoid the obvious, but without a deeper understanding, sometimes we end up just like on a different loop of that spiral. And it's almost another tenet of free will, and it is like the thought, right? Which sometimes works to our benefit and sometimes does not. We arrive at our own conclusions. Our intuition and discernment sort of help us navigate. But there are some things that it's like the divine doesn't just like come out and say, even if it seems fairly obvious to us because of our intuition and discernment. But if we're not mindful of our own biases, then we can like miss certain things. The chariot at the bottom of the deck. All right, real quick. Ooh, of course. And the chariot's still at the bottom of the deck. Justice is the card that flipped out. I feel like I see this card all the time. I guess we are in Libra season. It's almost like justice in the chariot is it's almost a caution question mark to be mindful. To be mindful of the things that we do today, because the things that we do today, it's like setting the tracks, setting the rails for a thing. It's like we're laying the tracks for a railroad today, right? And once the tracks are laid out, then the train is going to be, it's like it's going to ride on those tracks, and the train cannot deviate from the tracks. So if we want to go towards the right, we have to place the tracks in a way that it goes in that direction. We can't lay the tracks to the left. And then when the train is launched or when the train is in operation, expect it to go to the right because that's not how the tracks are laid. It's like it's almost energy again with the illumination of certain like loops and spirals. It's an energy that's like certain things didn't just happen overnight or it didn't just happen all at once. Again, it was a confluence of circumstances, choices, decisions, and the like that led to that. And so, again, that's why we have to be even more mindful because in the beginning or at the time, it may not look like what it will become. And again, if we're only focused on the big things to the point where like we're avoiding the big things, we can fall into a false sense of security because it's all these little things that we're doing that lead to the big things. And again, with the energy of the poet, it's just like certain things aren't necessarily just like flat out said. You have to kind of read into it or let it unfold. Cool. Justice is also where the sun is. Libra. Justice is Libra. Libra is where the sun is. I'm gonna look before and after the Emperor. Top of the deck is the Three of Pentacles. All those things work together, right? Those are the tracks. Those are the foundation that we laid down for the future. The Emperor is in between the Five of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is in between the Moon and the Emperor, and the Moon was in Aries. Interesting. And then the Sun is there, and the Four of Wands. Nine of Pentacles. So it's the Nine of Pentacles, the Four of Wands, the Sun, the Moon, and the Ace of Swords, and then the Emperor. The Four of Wands, the Sun, and the Moon. It's you could say it's an energy of like what's in the dark will come to the light, but again, it almost feels like it's just more of the cause and effect of the of Justice in the Chariot. Cool. All right. Well, that was whatever. What's gorgeous is again, it's that energy of like the ability to create, like we are weaving a story. And if we tell a different tale, And it's almost like too, there are some stories where it's like the characters are different, the setting is different, but the plot, like if you map out the plot, it's like similar, right? Like with all those little app shows, there's like a few basically like tropes, right? And so it's like you have a rags to riches type trope, or you have like a secret billionaire trope. You have your whatever. And because the setting is different, because the characters are different, like sometimes we think that the story is different, but it's not, because those plot elements are basically the same. And I think the not deceptive part of it, uh, but like everything is interesting. The interesting part is it's almost like because a story is unfolding or because things are happening, we may not necessarily see or recognize that we're weaving a new tale. And that's the thing about life. Um, we always, every single moment in life is an opportunity, is a chance to do something different, regardless of like how things are playing out, or regardless of where things are in the process of them playing out. And that's because we have free will. At any point, at any moment, things could change because we could decide to do something different, right? And maybe that's the thing about like loops and spirals, that it's almost like once we identify that we're in a spiral, once we identify that we're in a loop, we surrender our free will authority to do something different. Because then it's like, oh, I see the signs. It's like we let it continue to play out. And then maybe we think like, oh, like to prevent this from happening again, then I'll do different things. Or but it's like you don't have to wait for it to play out, right? You can get halfway through act 3 and be like, you know what, like we've heard this story before. I think the characters should do something different, right? And maybe when we were, maybe like we wrote out the whole thing, right? Let's say we're the director and the creator of the thing. I don't know. But just try to, let's say that we're the director and the creator of the thing. And when we were creating it, we didn't notice how it's a story that's been told over and over and over again. But in the process of filming or rehearsing the thing while we're in the director chair and we're seeing it play out like in front of our faces rather than just in our minds, we see like, oh, like this is a story that like we've seen before. And like I really thought I was doing something different. I thought I was doing something unique. I thought I was doing something new. And it's like rather than explaining away or trying to convince ourselves that it is different because the characters are different and the setting is different, when all the critics are going to be like, girl, like we've seen this a million times. It's like a reskin of the same thing. Instead of trying to convince ourselves of how novel it is, we can. And it's like we don't even have to necessarily go all the way back to the beginning. It's just like at the moment we see it, realize it, recognize it, we can go, you know what, like this character is going to do something different because this is a story that we've heard before. It's a story we've seen. It's like this burst of inspiration and creativity when we see it. And because it's like the characters are alive, because the characters are already fleshed out, you can imagine or see how the characters would respond to that difference. And so, even if one character decides to flip the script and do something like completely whatever, like it's within everyone else's ability to adapt to that. And I feel like it's like, again, film is not my thing at all. But it's almost an energy of like when an actor knows their character and they're like, I think, like, I really feel like my character would do this in this situation. And when the director or the producer or whoever gives the actor, the person embodying that character, the freedom to like do that, but it's like it creates this ripple or it creates this distortion in the loop, in the spiral, that causes the whole thing to like venture out in a different way. But again, it's just the poet. It's like it's the inspiration to do such, but it's not like an edict or a command, or it's not an energy that reads as like this will come to pass. Because that's how loops and spirals propagate. There are plenty that we don't see coming until it happens. But again, we have a level of awareness and wisdom from our experiences to really like do something different, to really flip the script. All right, last archetype is the siren, number 18, which is the 18 in the tarot is the moon in the major arcana. But so we've seen 18, 28, 58, and 68. The poet is number 7. Now, I believe there are 78 archetypes. There may not be. I think so. I know there's less than 88. Though the reason why I bring it up is it's interesting that it goes from 68 to 18. Like there's no 78, 88, or 98 of like it's almost like after 68 it just like starts fresh. It's new at the 18. There's no like it's not that like realization that leads to the like apprenticeship type energy where we learn more and then we master it, like rather than going through a process of like mastery and stuff like that. It just like creates something new. It's just like spontaneous genesis, the spontaneous genesis of a new thing is, I feel like, oh, maybe that's a video game, Neo Genesis. But again, It's like things are established enough that, and it maybe it's an energy that's like sometimes we think that if we were to like do something new or to break the mold or flip the script, that there has to be like certain contingencies in place and like we need more knowledge. But it's like things are stable enough, things are well thought out enough, things are embodied enough that they can and will respond appropriately. It is not a situation in which there need be a precedent. It doesn't like there doesn't have to be a formula to follow or like it doesn't have to have previously existed. And so when we're bartering with that Mercury, where we had bartered fear, maybe it's another flavor of fear that we barter, right? And we just like do the thing, just do the new thing. Everything will work out. Bottom of the deck is the Pilgrim, number 20. 20 is Judgment. So we have the Moon and Judgment. Told through the Siren. I love the Siren and the Pilgrim. The Pilgrim is actually going on that journey, right? The Siren is the call. The Pilgrim makes that pilgrimage. The Pilgrim heeds the call of the Siren. And with that, like Judgment Day energy, it's like if things were to change now or within the window of this full moon Aries energy, if things were to change now, it's like we wouldn't have to die to go to heaven. We wouldn't have to get to the end to have the judgment that does the whatever. Again, it's like it's that energy of like we don't have to let the loop complete to break it. You don't have to wait until next week to start whatever. You can start today or you can start in the morning, right? You don't have to wait until the next Monday. You can start on a Friday type energy. Ooh, the new pearl. Okay. Can I shuffle the cards? And again, it's almost like it not toes the line. Because while Libra can symbolize justice, it also represents the status quo. And so, like Mercury being in Scorpio, almost tries to help us see the difference, right? To truly bring justice into a situation or to truly take those steps so that when justice is ruled or declared in a situation, it leads to an outcome that's desired rather than continuing to abide by the status quo or the stories that have been told over and over and over and over and over. And it's the new thing, it's the different thing that is the siren that is calling. Excuse me. All right. Clean flip, clean fall. I am gonna have to use the restroom, so if like we can make this quick, that would be amazing. Ooh, am I taking these? Sure. I was shuffling cards, and how many? Oh, this is a lot. Is it five? It's six. It's one more than before. I'll do it. The new pearl with resin. The new pearl and resin is so. This is such an interesting combination because it almost reads like something that had been presented before. It could be within the course of the spiral. there could be like an exit that has become a part of the spiral, right? And it's like in this spiral, every time we are offered a way out, every time our intuition or discernment notifies us of something, every time the divine nudges us, every time the siren calls. The siren's call is a part of the spiral. And the siren's call, it's almost like the actualization of the things that we manifest. Right? It's like the destination that lies on the right. It's like, so well, I guess I should do it this way. We go up and then we veer off to the right, right? Or we can go up and then go off to the left. So that's the siren. But it's like in the spiral, we always go left, or we always build to the left, thinking that we're going to end up going right. And it never like connects, right? So the new pearl in resin, and then we have 10. Again, 10 being sort of like the energy of that siren. When the pressure is on or when things get really hairy, it's like the call gets louder and louder. Our intuition almost gets clearer and clearer. And depending, like one of the instances where I could see the exit being ignored is like we think we're already too deep, or it's like too much has already happened. Again, it's like it's that act three. It's like the last 20 minutes of the feature film when the director has that realization, and depending on like the budget constraints and depending on availability of the actors and all of these other things, it could be a lot of pressure to go like, oh well, we can't alter the ending because blah 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 whatever. But again, it's like the director can make that call like, no, we're going to do it whatever. And you just have to trust that the actors know their characters well enough to play out the scene. And so it actually reminds me of, it brings to mind fulfillment and the spiritual quest, where it was like it's a scroll that was updated in real time. And so it's basically like the script is written as the actors in character acted out. Or maybe they just like film it. They don't even script it, they just film it and send it on. Then there's glass, silver, and copper. Silver is associated with the moon, copper is associated with Venus. I feel like glass is the point where it's like the thing is almost so loud where we see it so plainly with the glass. Silver and copper, this is, it's self love to one of the highest degrees. It's almost like one of the purest expressions of self love that is humanly possible, to have enough compassion and grace for the self to be understanding, but to be bold enough or emboldened enough by that self love to break the cycle and do the new thing anyway. It's like to love oneself enough to like brave the unknown, to love oneself enough to be courageous and brave, and to go like, even if I don't know what's next, I know that it's like I know that I can't keep doing this type energy. Bottom of the deck is Nebula. fog in reverse. I'll keep it in reverse. And I'm keeping nebula fog in reverse because of glass, the moon, and copper. We love ourselves through that act of bravery to not self delude or to not put ourselves, like, to not gaslight ourselves, basically. To not gaslight ourselves into thinking that we don't feel what we feel or we don't see what we see. We don't realize what it is that we realize. We don't know what it is that we now know. Again, it's interesting that it goes from the six. Like at the six, it has the interruption of the seven, of like, there's so much more to this than I knew. And it immediately goes into the one. All right. Final 8-bit fantasy tarot. Strength. Strength and the Eight of Swords, literally this energy, the Fool. Strength, the Eight of Swords, and the Fool. With the Seven of Swords behind the Fool. With the Seven of Swords behind the Fool, the Seven of Swords, like, he's stealing swords from military presence. But it's this energy of like, it doesn't have to be a fight. Like, we don't have to struggle. We can choose to. But again, with that trio of cards, this is the strength to, even if we don't see what our next step is, even if we are blind, we can forward. We can still move forward. And if we look in the card, her path forward isn't impeded at all. She can walk directly forward and not bump into a single sword. So thanks, Holly, for stopping by. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and what you find. And until next time,